So why do Protestant Bibles have fewer books? People often accuse the Catholic Church of adding books to the Bible, but that's untrue. What is true is that Catholic Bibles have 73 books and Protestant Bibles 66. Both have 27 books in the New Testament. It's the Old Testament that there's a disagreement over. So let me give you a little bit of a history of the Bible, but to do that we need to go all the way back to 1800 BC, when the oral tradition of the Hebrew people started because Abraham and his tribes didn't have a written language of their own. So mothers and fathers verbally handed down the stories of the Old Testament about Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, the Tower of Babel, Noah and the Ark, and so on. Everything was told by word of mouth, which was called oral tradition. Moses appeared about 1250 BC when the Hebrew people were delivered from bondage and slavery in Egypt and entered the Promised Land. The era of Moses opened the road to some of the written word because Moses was raised in the court of Pharaoh, and so he learned how to read and write. But the predominant bulk of revelation was still the oral tradition handed down from generation to generation. According to pious tradition, Moses composed the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, what Christians called the Old Testament, namely Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Significant writings and books weren't saved until 950 BC, during the reign of King Solomon, but after the death of King Solomon, his kingdom was divided between the northern and southern kingdoms, Israel and Judah. Over the next 500 years, the Israeli people were spread all over the place from the Assyrian conquering in Israel and the Babylonian captivity. The Hebrew language was almost lost. The common language was Greek. By 250 BC, an effort was underway to translate all Jewish scripture into the Greek language. 70 scholars gathered together to begin the daunting task of translation, and the term Septuagint from the number of 70 in Greek for this version of the Bible. The Septuagint version of the Bible contained 46 books and became the standard collection of Jewish scripture. At least for the Greek-speaking Jews, and even the Jews in Palestine accepted this collection of books. 7 of the 46 books were never composed or written originally in the Hebrew language, but were regarded as inspired. Text nonetheless, these 7 books, the books of Baruch, Maccabees 1 and 2, Tobit, Judith, Ecclesiastes, also known as Sirach, and Wisdom, were known and used by Jews, even in the Holy Land, and including Jesus and his disciples. Authorities in Jerusalem had no objection to these 7 books until the year 100 AD, well after Christians had split from formal Judaism and formed their own separate faith. The Temple of Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD, and then the year 100 AD, Jewish leaders at the Council of Jamnia sought to purify Judaism and all foreign and Gentile influences, which meant removing anything not purely Hebrew. So because these 7 canonical books were never written in Hebrew, they pitched them. It wasn't until the Protestant Reformation in 1517 when Martin Luther initiated adopting the Hebrew canon rather than the Greek canon that did a total separation occur in Christian Bibles. Catholics and Protestants have never seriously disputed the list of New Testament books, and both Catholic and Protestant Bibles have the exact same names and numbers of books in the New Testament. I hope this helps. God bless.